Pushpa 2 The Rule has been breaking records since its release. Allu Arjun's film has become the fastest to cross 1,000 crore rupees worldwide. That is, within 7 days of its release, leaving all box office pundits stunned. A Telugu dubbed movie is now on the way to become the highest grosser Hindi release of all time, beating 3-2 Animal or Jawan. The anticipations were high, but the outcomes seem unreal, establishing the ongoing trend of machoistic, male-driven mass movie at the Indian box office all over again. And along comes plethora of criticisms towards the film, around the cinematic qualities, around unfair screen distribution, and much beyond. Are these criticisms objective enough though, or are they mostly grudged expressions against the film's unprecedented success? We try to find out in this video. Perhaps the biggest criticism towards Pushpa 2 is about its lack of storyline, absence of a plot. Well, yes, this is a film that does not invest on a linear narrative construct, that is, introducing a crisis, building on it visually and emotionally, and then reach for a resolution. Instead, the idea is like putting a series of shots or more like reels in sequence, each focusing on hero entry, swags of Allu Arjun, punchlines to fetch fan outbursts, with the man either invested in some ego trip of upmanship, rescuing some woman from morally lesser goons, or undergoing some emotional breakdown. One ends and the other starts, and thus goes a runtime of almost 3.5 hours. We understand that among Indian cine lovers, a story is the crux of a film, and we keep on hearing statements like content is the king. But is the content only about plot and story, not visuals and feelings? Remember, cinema is first a visual medium, and then a medium of storytelling, as purists would suggest. Does Payal Kapadia's much celebrated All We Imagine Is Light really have a story? Or say, this year's Cannes Best Director winner, Grand Tour, by Miguel Gomes. Come on, we are not comparing the aesthetics of All We Imagine or Grand Tour with that of Pushpa 2. But why would certain rules apply to the Allu Arjun starrer if that's anyway not something that pure cinema believes in, just because it is mainstream? When did cinema or art for that matter believe in rules anyway? Pushpa entertained even if it repeated its selling points over and over, and there's no way taking the experience away from the film. And who knows if such series of shots would not be the recipe for the future, with the ever-growing lack of attention span among the mass. Pushpa 2 might emerge as a trendsetter for the future that way. Just saying, not saying that is right or wrong, just putting it out there. And then comes criticisms like, what if it entertains, grabs your attention? So does JCB construction sites. Yes, we are referring to the comment by actor Siddharth as he goes on to explain that cinema needs to be healthy. Yes, cinema needs to be healthy for sure. And we had expressed our concerns on the objectification of women in Pushpa 1 in our review video. Though Samantha's Ooh Antava Mama had intelligent subversion as an item song lyrics, the film failed at gender politics like anything. Pushpa 2 is not as misogynist as its first installment in our opinion. Of course, it boasts of a male gaze and indulges in mansplaining, like most other mainstream films, and is no example of balanced gender politics. But it has a heroine who pulls her alpha husband whenever she has sexual urges, even at the cost of dropping his prior plans. It has a hero who cries and is vulnerable inside to find shelter in his wife. And as director Ram Gopal Verma puts it, the film also has a physically deformed guy elevated to the stature of a super action hero, when the very definition of superhero is expected to be perfect. Pushpa comes with a male gaze, but it gets the class politics right. Think of the subtext of brand between Pushpa and Shekhawat that runs from the first film. Think how director Sukumar positions Pushpa's loud silk shirts and rowdy looks against Shekhawat's finely suited attires and groomed neatness. And when Pushpa disrobes that showy man of his suits, there is a sense of satisfaction. For most, it might be pure fun. For fans, it might be a duel between a Telugu and a Malayalam superstar. But look closely and you can enjoy the class politics. Call out the problems where they are, but one has to acknowledge such nuances that's rightfully healthy. Okay, now let's talk about Shekhawat. There's also this frustration, more from Malayalam movie fans, of how the great Fahad Fasil has not been given his due in this film. He has been reduced to a clown, they say, as none of Shekhawat's moves stand a chance against Pushpa. One of the core criticisms against the film that we too agree on is how Pushpa doesn't face a real challenge at all. Now, having spent 2 full films with him, we hope this is addressed by the creative team in the next film. But the point against Fahad is really pretty lame, to say the least. Of course, the pan-India audience, beyond once exposed to Malayalam cinema, have not witnessed even 10% of what a monster of an actor Fahad Fasil is. But more than Vikram or Vettian, Pushpa 2 gives Fahad to perform. The man is anyway not going for main lead roles in non-Malayalam films and is more inclined on making his mark through memorable supporting acts. And that way, Bhavar Singh Shekhawat serves well. That party scene where Shekhawat waits for Pushpa's apology is gold. And while the noise might be all about Pushpa's punchlines, the disbelief on Shekhawat's eyes is treasure for cinephiles. Now that brings us one of the more pointed allegations raised about the film, and how it has taken over all shows across the country, pushing out smaller films in the process, including All We Imagine as Light, that is making India proud on global platforms. Director Vikramaditya Motwane has come forward disappointed, along with many others, and the criticism does hold merit. Remember, we also spoke about the same concern talking about the epidemic of franchise films in one of our recent videos. The balance is a key, and if you look at Book My Show app today, the balance is clearly missing. But does the onus lie on Pushpa and its makers, or the cinema distributors alone? Does it not lie on us? Would you be equally interested in the aesthetics of Payal Kapadia's film, bereft of the international accreditations, and only follow its pure cinematic aesthetics? Cinephilia is an acquired taste, and an all-around effort needs to be put from makers, distributors, governments, and cine forums to build that taste for the mass audience, which is lacking in our country since decades. Only denying Pushpa a few shows won't solve the bigger problems, though we agree to the workaround of a balanced distribution of shows among all new releases. But perhaps it works better if we can reduce the ticket prices for niche releases and attract audiences. What about setting up cinematheques in major cities, like any cinema-loving countries, to work on building cinema aesthetics? What about introducing cinema appreciation as a course for school students in their formative years? If we are really interested in building a culture of cinema in the country, perhaps we need to look beyond the hate for a film like Pushpa. A mainstream entertainer is as important and difficult to pull through as any. In the mix of things, and once in real love with cinema, should be able to appreciate it. That is all from us today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing.